All right, it's 11:59 a.m. We're going live in less than a minute. So take a sip of the coffee. All right, it is 12 noon, and welcome to Notes from the Route. This is episode 1, so I want to first do a quick overview and talk a little bit about what this show is about and why I decided to do it. So this is what it is. Essentially, I've spent a lot of time thinking about, reading about, writing about concepts and ideas in marketing and entrepreneurship and writing and music. I have a broad array of interest, and I spend a lot of time writing about those things. But up until now, most of that writing has been done in private. I've kept it to myself, honed my ideas, but now I want to incorporate more of a community aspect to my thinking so that I can sort of sharpen those ideas, and also for people who have shared interest, who are interested in some of the same things, they can participate in the conversation, and perhaps my perspective on things can add a little bit of nuance to the way that you think about these ideas. So more than anything, I want it to be sort of the first half or one half of a conversation about some of these ideas. Now, and one of the reasons that I'm doing it this way is sort of part of it is just a public accountability thing. If I'm showing up and doing this live on air every day, then and I reach a point where people are expecting it, then I can sort of build some momentum and keep myself accountable to really thinking closely and clearly about the ideas, because I can play around on my notepad or write stuff in secret all day, but when I have to think about, okay, how am I going to present this information, then it encourages me to dig deeper and get clearer about the ideas, because it takes a different level of understanding and a different level of knowledge to be able to present some ideas. So it's a public accountability thing, and also a way to help me sharpen my thinking about some of these ideas. I primarily identify myself, or I self-identify as a writer. And as part of the writing process, I work through these ideas through several different phases. And this community phase will help me to develop my writing. And I invite all of you, who are watching this, if you are interested in these ideas or want to, participate in a conversation with me about these ideas, I look forward to doing that. A couple notes, or a quick note on the format of the show. Primarily, I just want to take one high-level idea or one high-level concept, and then, I want to try to dig into it or explain it through a story. Or in some cases, in certain instances, I'll use like a case study from sort of the industry at large that I observed, and then sort of to give a framework for the idea that I want to explore. And I want to do this Monday through Thursday, this live broadcast Monday through Thursday at noon. And then we'll also, if you're interested in keeping up, if you're not here for the live show, you can go to jaredforte.com. That's jaredforte.com. And you can sign up to get updates, and I'll do a weekly digest where, I'll send you an email with the notes and links and reference materials. In case you miss any of the shows, you can get caught up and participate in the conversation that way. So without further ado, I want to get into the first topic that we want to study in this, or want to discuss in this episode 1 of this live broadcast, Notes from the Route. And I want to say the impetus for this conversation or this thinking came a couple weeks ago. I was in a coffee shop and I had the pleasure of meeting someone. It was a young lady who was just passing through, or she was visiting family in town. She actually lived in New York, but she was down here in the Baltimore area where I live. And she was in the coffee shop and she was writing, and it turns out, and as I struck conversation with her, she was writing sales copy or copy for the company that she was working for. It was a software company that was based overseas in Denmark. It's a venture-backed company, meaning they got investors to back this product. Some of the same people who invested in Facebook also invested in this company. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to talk to someone who was working on that level. I'd never had any direct interaction with someone who was working inside of a venture-backed startup to talk to her in this case, about marketing and some of the things that she does and some of the things that she sees. And where the conversation went was, I found out that, and she pointed out that when people talk about marketing, usually it's just a bunch of buzzwords going back and forth. And there's not a lot of clarity. We say things that it's a bunch of jargon that we communicate with each other about, but somewhere in the mix, you have this disconnect. You miss the idea, or you don't have real clarity about what you're talking about. You just throwing around buzzwords, and there's no real understanding taking place, especially when you're trying to communicate these ideas to someone who is not a marketer, to a customer, to someone who is trying to buy the product or service that you're offering. So it made me start thinking about, okay, there's some very common terms and some very popular concepts that are going around in marketing circles on the internet that we just use the words and we know what they mean, like content marketing and branding. We think we know, we have a pretty good understanding what these terms mean, but sometimes there's some lack of clarity there, and we don't really say what we mean, and we're not really clear about the concept when we get ready to put it into practice, and we miss some of the principles, and sometimes our messages miss the mark. So with that in mind, I want to start this first episode with a discussion about content marketing as one, as it relates to branding, and two, as it relates to a sales funnel. And now I want to first start by talking about branding. And for most people, the idea of branding is a concept that, as a small business person or as an individual working as a freelancer, or you're just doing things online, branding seems like a concept that is not relevant to you. It's something that big brands have to think about, or people who have large followings have to think about. Well, that's not necessarily the case anymore, mainly because now there is an expectation of authenticity when you're operating online, whether you're a business where the transaction takes place offline, or you're just an individual. There's an expectation of authenticity when you are operating online. And because of that, you have to think about what your personal brand is. When people encounter you online, when they encounter content that you create, what is the message, or what is the perception that they get when they see you? So that's where branding applies, I think, to everyone universally, because we all, in some way, shape, or form, we show up as ourselves online. You are you. Our email addresses aren't these crazy code words anymore. They're our name. There's something of our true selves and our identity attached to everything that we do online, for better or for worse. So the concept or the idea of branding is something that has to float in the back of everyone's mind, regardless of what level they're operating at. Now, so think about branding. That's one aspect that we're going to address, content marketing as it relates to branding. Also, we're going to talk about content marketing as it relates to a sales funnel. And many people, if you have a product or service that you're bringing to the marketplace, you use quote unquote content marketing to bring customers through a process, through a sales process, so that hopefully they'll trust you enough to purchase your product or your service. So let's take a step back and talk about, in general, what content marketing is, to give a clearer picture of it. I want to take an example that is a story that's been prevalent in the market for, right now or recently, as of, June 2014, when this is live. It was the sale of Beats to Apple. And on the surface, it seems just like, okay, we got two technology companies that one technology company bought another. But it's really something much deeper than that. And this is where content marketing plays into that story. One way to look at that sale or that transaction is the purchase of Beats by Apple was the culmination of a 25-year content marketing campaign by Dr. Dre. Over the course of the last 25 years, he established his brand through the music that he created himself and through the work that he curated with the artists that he presented to the marketplace. Because he established trust in his brand and he established himself as an authority, Dre, his name, his brand, had value that could be transferred to a physical product, which was the headphones. And it turned out to be a premium product. Now, when I first saw the first advertisement for Beats by Dre, I think I was looking in a music magazine, and I thought that it was for an instrumental CD. I thought that he was putting out a compilation of unreleased tracks or beats, and I thought this is what it was, because there was no image in the advertisement. It was just Beats by Dre and a picture of him. So I went to Best Buy, and then I saw these headphones, and I was like, this is different. This is something new. It kind of came out of the blue, and this was the mid-2000s. And now, of course, over the last several years, that brand, Beats by Dre, other artists have been associated with the Beats brand, and it became something of a marketing phenomenon, because there's a visual aesthetic where people want to be seen wearing those headphones, and regardless of what the quality is promoted as a premium technological device, but really it's a high fashion accessory. And the reason that it got that status was because of the 20 years of content marketing that Dre did prior to establish himself as an authority. And then as the brand grew, now that content marketing plan, it was a long-term plan, but it led to the acquisition that's worth billions of dollars. So that's what content marketing is, always a long-term game. It's not transactional in nature. It's based on the concept of adding value over the course of time and using the content, using the product or information that you bring into the marketplace over the period of time to establish yourself as an authority, to build trust with an audience, to create value for people, so that at some point you have earned their trust and can enter into a financial relationship with them, a transaction with them per se. Now, there was an interesting conversation that I heard about content online. A lot of times you think about the different ways that people create content, whether it's blog posts or podcast, whether it's a social media update, a post on Facebook or Twitter or G+. wherever you're posting information online is considered content. And there was a conversation about whether or not content that you curate, which means stuff that was created by someone else but that you then share with people who are in your audience, whether that's valuable and whether that has a negative impact on your brand. Now, this was a discussion on the Content Warfare Show with Ryan Hartley. Now, my take is that I think that once you have established your authority, then you can curate people and you earn the trust of people so that they can trust your recommendations. If you say, well, this is something that's good, then they trust you, and then you can transfer your authority to this other content without it having a negative impact. But I think an important thing to remember is that every time you share something with someone, you're making a demand on a person's time. And you want to make sure that every time you make a connection with someone, you're adding value. Because if you share something that wastes a person's time, then it diminishes your relationship with that person. And when you do that, then it can have a negative impact on your brand. So I think that, so let's look at, let me wrap the conversation up like this. Content marketing is always a long-term play. Everything that you put forward serves one of two purposes. If you're publishing anything online, you're either trying to guide a person through a sales process where you're offering a product or service, or you are establishing your authority and enhancing the image of your brand in the marketplace, or both. You could be doing both, and ideally you want to be doing both all the time. This is not the age of being able to, of strangers selling to strangers anymore. We expect to be able to have some sort of connection with the people that we do business with on the internet, because the tools are there to allow that to happen. So we have that expectation now. So with that expectation, you should think about whenever you're publishing anything online, whether it's a blog post or an update or a link, think about the value that you're adding and what that is doing to the relationship that you have with your potential audience. So those are some high-level ideas about content marketing as it relates to branding and as it relates to the sales funnel. Again, if you want to take part in this conversation, this is a daily thing. I want to keep it short, 15 minutes or so you can jump in and jump out. I just want to kind of spark your thinking, put my ideas out there. I welcome your feedback in the comments on G+, in the comments on YouTube. Again, my website is jaredforte.com. This is a daily, well, Monday through Thursday. I'm going to present this program Monday through Thursday, so you can check it out live right on G+. Also, I'll be putting a link on my page at jaredforte.com/live so that you can catch it there. You can sign up for updates so that you don't miss any of the episodes. Just go to jaredforte.com, and there's a box there where you can sign up for updates, and you'll get a weekly digest of all the ideas that are being presented. So that's going to do it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks a lot for checking me out. Have a great day.